More American forces will be sent to the Persian Gulf as the U.S. remains cautious about an attack from Iran. The Pentagon today announced it'll deploy about 1,500 troops, missile systems, and other resources to the region. The U.S. had already approved sending an aircraft carrier to serve as a deterrent. The president today said he approved the deployment.
We want to have protection. The Middle East, we're going to be sending a relatively small number of troops, mostly protective, and some very talented people are going to the Middle East right now, and we'll see what happens.
So let's get some details now from our CBS News national security correspondent, David Martin, who just attended a briefing on this. Thanks for joining us, David. What does this deployment include, and why 1,500 troops?
Well, the president had it right when he said this was a relatively small number of troops, because the actual number of additional troops is only 900. They're counting the number 1,500 to include a Patriot anti-aircraft missile battery, which is already there and is simply being extended as part of this 1,500. So if you're looking at new troops going into the Persian Gulf region, you're talking about 900. And what these troops will do is they will operate intelligence aircraft, drones, and manned aircraft. They will be engineers to build up the physical defenses around the American installations there, and it will include a fighter squadron just to give one more layer of air defense against any possible attack from Iran.
The president in the past has talked about reducing the number of troops in the Middle East, and as you just said, 1,500 really isn't that many. But do you think this sets the tone for potentially more 6 months from now, or what ultimately is the president trying to do here?
Well, I think this is the new normal. The U.S. has now embarked on this pressure campaign against Iran to get it to negotiate not just an end to its nuclear program, but to an end to its support for terrorist organizations overseas and its end to development of ballistic missiles. Iran says it's not going to talk, so we're back to this campaign of keeping the pressure on in case Iran tries to use physical force against the U.S. or its interests to fight back against this American pressure campaign. And the most interesting thing, actually, that came out of this briefing was not the number of troops, but it was the fact that a senior military officer, Admiral Michael Gilday, said on the record that all of these attacks that we have seen in the past couple weeks, now I'm talking about attacks against tankers that were at anchor in the Gulf of Oman. I'm talking about attacks against Saudi oil pipelines, and I'm talking about a rocket attack into the green zone where the American embassy is located in Baghdad. He said that all of those attacks track back to the leadership of Iran.
So do you think that this plan will work, sending these troops to try and put more pressure on the Middle East and Iran, as you stated?
Well, I think it's probably going to work in terms of convincing Iran that it would be a real bad idea right now to attack U.S. forces. Will it convince the Iranians to come back to the negotiating table? I don't think so. The only thing I think that stands a chance of convincing the Iranians they have no other recourse but to negotiate are the economic sanctions, which are attempting to bring Iranian oil exports down to zero.
David Martin, thank you so much for breaking that down.